Hi, Ray DiZazzo here. I thought I'd talk today a little bit about the director's role in corporate media. A lot of people have input and impact on a corporate media program, but the director has the most. The director's job is complex. He or she wears a bunch of hats at different times, and the buck stops with the director in the end, and that's something to keep in mind. Some of those roles, the director is a supervisor and a communicator. So he supervises a crew, and maybe it's a small crew, a person or two, maybe it's a larger crew, 5, 10 people, but he sets the tone, he sets the pace, he sets the style of the shoot and kind of the artistic framework for it. So all those people have to be working for and with the director. He's a consultant, he or she I should say, because he or she will work with a client and convince that client that his way of directing his output is going to be best. So he's got to be able to keep the client informed about what's going on, how it's all going to come together at the end, and keep the client happy and satisfied, both in the office and on the shoot, because clients often come along on shoots or subject matter experts that work for the clients. The producer, the director also has to work with the producer and keep that producer comfortable that what he or she has decided to do is worthwhile. You may have to go to the producer and say, I need certain resources, certain people, a certain amount of time in order to get this done and do it the right way. And so that's a kind of a consultant's role as well, and a communicator. Probably above all, the director is a talent coach, depending on whether you're working with employees or professional actors. What ends up on the screen in terms of performances has to be credible, it has to be natural, and it has to come off as if there were no director or cameras or anywhere near it. So that's the challenge for the director. He's also a creative visual artist in a way, because the director is, if not actually creating the set, dictates a lot of what that set might be like. What set pieces, will it be in an office? Will it be made with abstract set pieces, whatnot? The lighting, what kind of lighting he or she would like. The DV may direct or may suggest certain lighting, but the director may have his or own ideas. The backgrounds, the framing, all of the things that go into shooting and covering a scene good. And then the director becomes an editing supervisor, because he or she sits in the bay with an editor and works out how that show should go together, how all the pieces should fit, the sound, the pictures, the graphics, or whatever you've developed. And that can be a little tense sometimes, because editors have distinct ideas of how pictures and sound should go together, and that's what they do, so they should have those ideas. Directors also have those same ideas. However, when a director shoots a show, he or she has a good visual sense of how the pieces are going to fit together and how it's going to work. That's the reason he blocks it a certain way, or she decides on certain angles and things. So, and that kind of brings us to what I think is the most important director's skill, and that is judgment skills. The ability to know what works, whether it's a performance, whether it's working with a client, whether it's working with an editor. A director has to have a sense of what will work for the show and for the audience and for all of the elements involved, the people and the elements involved. And that leads us to the final point here, and that is that, remember that the buck always stops for the director. That's why he gets the big bucks. So if a director gets bad sound and he goes into that meeting with a client and the sound is called into question, he can't say, oh, well, it was the sound guy's fault, he didn't do that right. No, it's the director's fault, because the director is in charge of all of the elements of the show. So since the buck stops with you as a director, you need to be decisive and know what you want and know how to get it. Good directing.